Good evening, televiewers. Welcome to this other edition of Prime Hour on My Media Prime. We this day are going to be coming back on the decision of the Minister of Transport suspending Menoir voyage following the accident that occurred along the Chang Hill that took the lives of 53 Cameroonians. We equally are going to be looking at the situation of the sales of illicit fuels in on our streets and our quarters. We are going to be asking where these fuels are coming from, as well as looking at the implications of people living with gallons of fuels besides their house and behind their their institutions. We are going to be discussing this with panelists who already are seated in the studio with us. Alex Ngepi is representing the Cameroon Renaissance Movement. Alex, good evening and welcome.
Bonsoir, bonsoir aux millions de personnes qui suivent Prime TV. Un bonsoir particulier à Maman Asmo Thérèse, un bonsoir particulier à Stéphane So. Je tiens à rappeler que Stéphane So, c'est notre ami politique incarcéré à la prison de Nubel et dont son épouse a fait la grâce de mettre au monde un enfant. C'était qu'on Petra Nubel était justement incarcéré et voilà, avoir de très bonnes bédons et comme à Stéphane So à son épouse.
Also with us this evening is the Secretary General of Modekna Party, Tamfu Jones is here with us. Good evening. Welcome.
Good evening, Leo. Good evening, fellow panelists. Good evening, televiewers. It's always a pleasure. You know, even though we are living such moments in Cameroon, given that people have lost their life in the accident that occurred yesterday, and even today, we still had two people who have died in Betwa. It is not something to laugh about because we need human resources in Cameroon. We are not supposed to be losing people. We have lost enough in the northwest and the southwest. So when accident comes again to snatch the lives of Cameroonians, I think it's something lamentable.
Okay, Tamai Jarvis is going to be joining us this evening. We're glad to have you with us. Welcome.
Thank you very much, Mr. Kum. Of course, good evening to Cameroon's President Paul Biya, and good evening to all the stakeholders, and of course Professor Maurice Kanto and Nijon Fungi, Chairman.
Okay, we are awaiting the arrival of Ba Akwen, who is supposed to join us. The CPDM representative sent words that he was not going to take part in the program this evening because he was tight, occupied somewhere. But we hope that the representative of the PCRN joins us in the studio so that we can comment on the topics selected for discussion this evening. We are going to start with the decision by the Minister of Transport to suspend Menoir Voyage, the agency that actually was involved alongside a truck that was transporting illicit fuel. Your first reaction to that decision?
I think it is nonsense. It's rubbish. Because this minister, I was hoping that by this hour of the day, somebody would have resigned. Because if we're in the country where by people think straight, that minister of transport will have resigned. Because he has failed as a minister. This is not the first time we're having accidents of this magnitude. We had the case of Ezeka, and today is Chang. Which one will be the next? We keep condemning. We condemn this with all the energy we have in our bodies. We condemn this, we condemn that, and the same things are happening year in and year out. I will keep doing the same thing and expect different results. Look, Mr. Leo, when we look at what happened yesterday, and we see the minister pointing fingers at Menoir Voyage, I begin to think that in Cameroon, we always stay away from the problem and point fingers to other things. Look at what is happening in the northwest. Instead of the people handling the problem the way it should be handled, they begin to beat around the bushes, doing things that they're not supposed to do. You have malaria and you are curing HIV. It is nonsense. Instead of him suspending Menoir Voyage, he should make sure that those people who were in the truck transporting the fuel illegally should be punished. Those soldiers, because they are accomplices, we don't even know if they are real soldiers or not. Those men in uniform, the custom officer and the gendarmerie officer, they want to be punished. And then after that, all the control posts, those who were at the control post on that same day, beginning from the northwest right up to where the incident occurred, those people should answer questions, because we don't even know from where this fuel left. But from all indication, it must have left from the northwest, because that is where we have the boundary with Nigeria, and we know that Zwazwa in most cases always come from that part of the Africa to Cameroon. So I think that those people who were on the road on that day should answer questions how this vehicle left from where it left, past all the police control. So these guys on the road, all what they know how to do is to harass innocent Cameroonians of ID cards, extort money from drivers, and even the road safety officer who just sit under an umbrella with a torch and the whistle. They sit on the truck drivers. They don't even leave their truck. I mean, they don't go to the truck drivers. The truck drivers send their motor boys, their conductors, to go and give these guys 2,000 francs. That's the work. They're working by the roadside. And now 53 Cameroonians have died because of this negligence. The government, it is true that we will share the responsibility, because the drivers are not serious. The civil society is not serious. But who is to put these people into order? It is the government. So if anything goes wrong in this house, which is called Cameroon, Mr. Biya, who is the head of the house, and his government, they will answer, because he appointed the ministers. If they are not doing their job well, then he is the one to call them to order. He is not calling them to order, because I saw it today that he sent out a condolence message to those people. It is not enough. I think time has come for Cameroonians to be put to order. That people die and they take it, they just say a condolence message. The other time people died at Ngwashe. They said that no, they had been telling people to leave the place. And you tell people to leave, they don't leave, you leave them to stay there. When they die, you start condemning. I think time has reached whereby we should see things coming in the future, and then we'll try to stop them before they reach us. And the nature of the road too, I think there is something to visit this time around.
Okay. Your first reactions to the minister's decision.
D'abord, je tiens à donner des condoléances personnelles et celui de ma famille politique à ces nombreuses victimes, non seulement ceux qui sont morts au niveau de la falaise de Tchang, mais également à ceux qui décèdent tous les jours du fait des accidents routiers au Cameroun. Donc, j'adresse mes condoléances et ceux du MRC à ces victimes-là. Nous espérons que lumière sera faite et que il serait intéressant que leur âme puisse reposer en paix, que la tête de nos ancêtres soit légère. Je tiens également à souligner que je suis ressortissant d'Aménois. Donc, j'ai un membre de ma famille qui est décédé, qui a perdu la vie dans cet accident-là. Il y a plusieurs familles qui sont endeuillées du côté de Tchang. Donc, c'est un drame qui nous touche et qui me touche personnellement. Il est important de le souligner. Et nous espérons que le président Paul Biya, qui pour nous reste le président sortant de la République du Cameroun, et le président élu, le président entrant, le professeur Maurice Kamto, qu'ils vont assister à ces funérailles, à ce deuil, qu'il y aura un deuil national sur l'étendue du territoire national. Donc nous espérons donc que le président Paul Biya et le président Kamto et d'autres présidents des formations politiques, donc Cabral Libril, Nijon Fundi, pour une fois, il serait important qu'on essaie d'être plus humaniste, qu'on décrète un deuil national, qu'on arrête de déléguer des pouvoirs à des gouverneurs ou à des représentants, mais qu'on se rende sur place. Ça permettra peut-être de reconsolider ces populations camerounaises qui sont endeuillées.
Okay. Did you see this sanction coming after the accident?
Yeah, I expected sanction. You know, it's a norm that when an accident like that occurs, sanctions should be put in place. I want to a bit disagree with Tamfu John as far as calling it rubbish and nonsense is concerned, because when an accident like this happens, you must first of all take a measure, regardless whether it's effective or not. At least we must begin somewhere, so that the agency should relax, take about 3 months and look at what went wrong and re-strategize themselves and again hit the road. So sometimes when strategy like that occurs, you see a minister use such a strategy to suspend a traveling agency. It's not just because that travel agency may be at fault. But when it happens like that, you as an agency, normally you have to condole. You don't immediately go to work. You have to, those affected have to see that the government at least sympathize with them. So you have to halt your activities for a while. Not just for those who have died, for others who may be afraid to get into your vehicle. It's for equally for business strategy, for the interest of the same company. so that at least it should be that they took time to reevaluate themselves and see what went wrong, because at this point in time we don't know what went wrong, whether it was the fault of the truck coming in or was the fault of the driver going out. We don't know what is happening at the point in time, and the minister definitely should have a bit of an idea, because he must have been briefed as far as our law enforcement officer who went to the scene, as far as these who are doing what we call the when an accident occurred, what they do an enquete. So as he has some of this information to know that okay, maybe it happened like this, it happened like that. What we're expecting is that the public should be briefed as to the outcome of what exactly happened on that hill and what went wrong, that vehicle went to the level in which it
yeah, but a communique was issued yesterday that indicates that the truck that carried illicit fuel had the company of 2 uniform officers, a gendarme officer and a custom officer.
What I'm talking, I'm not.
And also suggested that it might have occurred because of a brake failure from the truck.
Good. You now understand why I'm saying that suspending the vehicle of manual is a business strategy to help them calm down. It's not just that they were at fault, because you must not be at fault before you are suspended. But what we expect now is that you should tell us, for example, when it happened like that, what was the first thing that the government did to get these people evacuated? Those who have survived, the 22, update us of their situation, update us as to how they are going to be taken care of, identification of the bodies, what is going to be done in order to identify the bodies, because we expect that the way it happens like that, some of the bodies may not be identified. So give identification of the body, tell the public that this is what we need to do to identify the body, so our family members can take the remains of those who died, who could not properly be identified, and be identified. But again, to add, sometimes it's not just sanctions we need. Like, look at what happened in my 29 Hill. I think that was in 2018, when a group of choristers went to my 29 Hill and never came back. That was a national strategy. And look at what equally happened, I think, Bob Fusam beyond the road in December, that where we had about 47 plus. So between January and now, if you do a rough mathematics, you realize that we've lost over 200 plus in road accidents across Cameroon. A figure much higher as compared to last year when the year began. So within this short period of time, we have had about 200. The question now is how many more people need to die before we take concrete measures to prevent some of these road accidents. Some of the accidents can be avoided and some cannot be avoided. Accident is normal. Accident like that happen it's an opportunity for us to look at what we have been doing wrong. Maybe the road structure, maybe the driving sector, maybe we'd have to reform the way driving lesson is taught in our schools, because maybe we have to introduce driving lessons to the secondary school level, so that from 1, from 2, from 3, from 4, from 5, you have an idea, not just an issue that you just get up and go and do a 3-month course, so that it shapes the mentality in which. So there are a lot of things we have to take into consideration. But however, I praise the suspension, and I want to say that I want to add now my voice to thankful that the law enforcement officers who were at the period between the Chang Cliff, who saw that and checked that vehicle, should be called to justice and should come and explain. I think these are issues where you see the Senate in other countries come into place, because the Senate called for a Senate hearing for those who were in charge of that place to come and testify what went wrong when they saw the vehicle, how manage a vehicle of fuel who live in Chang. Leave that here, because we know that production of illicit fuel, especially in Cameroon, comes from Limbe. Now, if it's coming from Bamenda, where is it coming from Bamenda? How did it pass? Or maybe it could be fuel bong that have been collected because of other issues. There are a lot of what if. So it could be a fuel bong that have been collected and transported to be sold. When they were constructing the Bamenda, the Kumba Boya road, we saw a lot of fuel bongs from people collecting from those contractors. I see putting in gallons and selling. That was an example of fuel bonds. So there are a lot of things happening as far as this is concerned. Investigation needs to go on, and we need an independent committee, independent investigation.
Another independent commission here. Do you think that agencies are becoming soft targets, like the case of what happened along the Yaoundé-Bafoussam stretch with Aveni?
Soft target? Yes,
soft targets are the key persons involved in ensuring that the transport system flows very well. Are they being sidelined in favor of the agencies?
No. You know, most of the time when I feel as to blame the agencies and the transporters, I will not blame them. We live in a country where there's too much laissez-faire. Too much laissez-faire, too much laxism from the government in place. Because you will not explain to me that. Because we are talking here now, as my brother was talking about the identification of the corpses. Who is who? Who was in that bus? We had 37 names on the bordereau, which is the official number that left Douala for Bafoussam or wherever.
To Chang.
To Chang. 37. Now, we have heard that 53 people have died so far and 22 are on hospital beds receiving treatment. This is a number getting to about 80. We know the usual practice of these drivers. When they leave the agency on the way, they pick people putting at risk the lives of Cameroonians. How dare you talk? Who will you report to? Because on those vehicles, it is written that the overload is not acceptable. Overspeeding is not acceptable. But how far have we gone with this? What are the measures that have been put in place to punish such persons or such agencies? We only wait until there's an accident before we suspend. After the suspension of the agency, they could start back their activities, keep working as a taxi on the highway. Because on the highway, you can carry armed robbers, you can carry Boko Haram, you can carry other individuals with guns on the way, and at the end of the day, they attack the whole vehicle and take properties from people. This is what Cameroonians are going through every day. Look at the bus that left Douala at about midnight. About 6 hours later, you are still around the Changi. You are still in Sancho. This explains to you the time that they wasted on the way. Doing what? From Douala to Sancho, about 4 hours. Doing what on the way? Because they are picking and dropping. Picking and dropping. What I am trying to say here is that there are some people in that who have died in that vehicle whose family members don't know that they traveled. Who will not be known, whose death will not be known by their family members or their loved ones. The loved ones within them, they have disappeared. Because there are moments that I live and I travel without telling people that I traveled. If that was the case, their ID cards have been burned, their belongings have been burned to ashes. Even some of them, their boats will not even be retrieved. Because the number of corpses I saw on the line on the ground is not up to the 53. So the ones that have gone beyond recognition or beyond restriction, what will happen to them? The problem of identification will come in. Now, when these guys do this overloading, this carrying and dropping, nobody says anything. When they go to police control, like what happens in Bamenda, they say that all the passengers should leave the bus, come out and show their ID card one after the other. They're only interested in ID card because they know that by the time someone does not have an ID card, they collect 1,000 francs from that person. That's what interests the policemen. But if they stop a bus, enter into this bus, they will realize that there are people sitting on the corridor of this bus, some are sitting on the steps. I traveled in the bus. I was shocked to see that about 25 people were sitting on that corridor and on the steps. And when I wanted to talk, there was this military man sitting by my side with his uniform. And I told him that it's a shame that you are putting on uniform and you are seeing this injustice. What if an accident occurs? Now these people sitting on this corridor will be the ones to keep people in this bus. So when you are alone, you are saying you become the man. The people on the floor, they don't care. Yeah, but the driver doesn't care.
What you are raising here, finally you're coming back to what I'm saying, that these guys are taken for the soft target because those that were supposed to stop the bus from overloading did not do their job. Those that were supposed to check the illicit nature of the goods that were transported in the truck did not do their job. So why are they not sanctioned? But the manual agency.
I was recounting to come to that level because I said earlier that there is a share of responsibility, but the greater chunk of this share of this responsibility go to the government.
Yes. So why are the government officials not sanctioned?
That's why I am saying that I was expecting that somebody resigns before today ends, but unfortunately I am seeing the person suspending people instead. Now, an emergency meeting was held in the Western region this morning, First of all, we salute the action by our Fonka Francis, the governor of the Western region, who went to the spot to see what was happening. This is what we expect of our authorities. That's a good action. Now, the emergency meeting was held. We are yet to know what was said in that emergency meeting. It was only held in the Western region. I am saying that this thing should go as far as Northwest because we don't know from where this fuel left and to where it was going. So if those who were on the way on that control, they should tell where this car left and where the car is going, because it is their duty to know where this car left and where it was going and what they are transporting. But if it came to pass that at the Changi an accident occurred and people have died, and just some meters away from where the incident took place, there is a milk control post there. Those people's asses should be on fire as we are speaking.
Oui, quel est le crime du Ménois à voyage?
Vous savez, le gouvernement camerounais est habitué au faux débat et à être hors sujet. C'est-à-dire, ils créent des débats là où il n'y a pas. Ils évitent leurs responsabilités. C'est trop facile de sanctionner aux transporteurs ménois. Et effectivement, on se rappelle, Général avait été sanctionné. Les gens sont sanctionnés. Mais cependant...
À venir
plusieurs. Mais cependant, il tient à rappeler que dans le drame des Écarts, Cameroun n'a pas été sanctionné. Il faut qu'on dise ça aux Camerounais. C'est-à-dire, quand il y a eu les Écarts, est-ce que Cameroun a été sanctionné? Non. Pourquoi est-ce que quand c'est les autres on sanctionne et quand ils ont l'intérêt on ne sanctionne pas? Ezeka a fait des centaines de morts.
Et dans tout ça, qui avait autorisé avec tant de personnes, il était sanctionné? Non.
Et la prime d'indemnité n'a jamais été versée aux populations. Ça a été monté. Donc on a un gouvernement qui passe le temps à distraire les Camerounais. Un gouvernement qui ne veut pas connaître ses responsabilités et qui passe le temps à faire valoir des choses qui ne servent absolument à rien. L'accident de Tchon pose d'abord le problème d'infrastructure routière. La falaise, je ne la connais pas personnellement, parce que j'ai souvent pratiqué cette route-là. Et c'est même d'ailleurs la seule véritable porte d'entrée de l'Ouest quand on est littoral, parce que du côté de Bafan, la route est coupée en deux, elle est inaccessible. Donc les gens qui vont du côté de Bamenda, Bafstam, Bouddha, Chang et le consort nord-ouest passent par cette voie-là.
Oui,
et
même
lorsqu'on a conçu cette voie à l'époque, les Chinois qui ont fait cette voie avaient demandé à faire une voie, on a dit que l'autre souterraine et au-dessus, donc qui est pas, parce que la voie ne pouvait pas être assez élargie, donc ils vont creuser sur la roche, que les véhicules qui descendent vont passer sur la roche et ceux qui montent vont passer en dessous. C'était ça, afin de minimiser l'accident. Quand vous empruntez ces voies-là, il y a des herbes tout autour. En côté, il y a des ravins. Ils n'ont même pas mis des dos d'âne, même pas des bordures pour empêcher aux véhicules de chavirer dans les ravins. Je dis là-bas, on met le pied au brouillard qui est un naturel. Les herbes entourent tout ce côté. Le gouverneur qui vient, on fait ce gouverneur en quoi? Il y a un délégué en charge du transport routier. Pourquoi est-ce qu'il ne s'attelle pas à nettoyer comment d'abord les bordures de cette route-là? Pourquoi est-ce que le gouvernement ne se rassure pas que les bordures sont posées, que les stations existent? Qu'est-ce qu'ils font? Mais on vient de dire on ne fixe pas sur eux. Mais un moment qu'il faut dans ce pays, on apprend à être sérieux. On est en train de voilà, c'est quand on qui ont perdu la vie, une vingtaine est couchée dans les hôpitaux. Les gens sont en train de politiser, de venir là, on dit le gouvernement, le président instruit, le gouverneur, qui a la charge de la gestion routière à Tchang? Il y a un commissaire de police principal à Tchang. Pourquoi est-ce que le gouverneur n'a pas exercé sa démission? Puisqu'il reprend les choses de l'État à l'ouest. On se sera attendu que le gouverneur exige la démission du commissaire central de Tchang. On s'est attendu que le délégué à la sûreté, en charge de la circulation routière à l'ouest, démissionne. Mais ces gens sont en poste, ils sont en train de boire le caviar, ils sont en train de finalement faire pour écrire, puis imiter encore peut-être les 200 000 francs qu'on va remettre aux familles des victimes, et on vient dire que non, mais non, oui, il faut sanctionner nos voyages, personne ne compte cela. Mais est-ce que la sanction de nos voyages à elle se suffit? Non. Il serait intéressant que les véritables responsabilités puissent être tirées. Il serait intéressant que la mairie de Strang et de Sanchou, qui sont aussi dans la chrétienne routière, puissent aussi être pointés du doigt. Il y a un poste de police net avant d'emprunter.
Oui, au-dessus. Oui.
Quand je vais à l'ouest, à ce poste, on vous descend systématiquement. Si quelqu'un n'a pas de carte, il paye 1000 francs. Automatique, il ne sert qu'à cela. Et c'est un poste, un contrôle mixte, gendarmerie et police. Bon, quand ces policiers qui sont là, quand ils vont se mettre dans ces postes-là, ils ont des rapports. Chacun qui va dans ce poste doit seulement avoir de l'argent pour donner au commissariat, pour donner au sous-préfet, au préfet. Où est le préfet de Tchang? Où est-il? On dit aujourd'hui, les gens sont décédés. 53 personnes sont décédées et on va commencer à tourner. Non, on a semé noir, on a fait ça. Est-ce que le problème de l'infrastructure routière au niveau de la phase de Tchang peut être résolu? Qu'est-ce que le gouvernement a prévu par rapport à cela? Et ce ne sont pas les seuls morts. C'est une escatombe, la phase de Tchang. Il y a des morts chaque mois là-bas, au moins 2 morts tous les mois. On parle de celui-ci parce que l'accident a été brusque, l'accident, il y a eu des flammes, des corps ont été calcinés. Rappelez-vous, avec tout le même gaz noir, et cela 1 an, à la falaise, il y a eu encore une escatombe là-bas. Est-ce qu'on peut les sanctionner? Il suffit. D'ailleurs, on parle de sanctions. Rappelons-nous de l'agence qui fait le nous voyage, à venir, qui sont basés avec les Senghé. On les a sanctionnés. Qu'est-ce qu'ils ont fait? Ils ont alloué leur bus, ils ont repeint leur bus en d'autres. Ils ont signé des partenariats avec d'autres agences qui continuent à charger là-bas, on les laisse faire. Mais nous, on va faire pareil. Ils vont prendre les bus, ils vont enlever leur voyage, ils vont peindre, ils vont mettre un autre nom, ils vont faire faute carte grise, et vous allez voir que leur voyage, même là où ils chargeaient, les gens vont continuer à charger, ils sont indépendants. Indépendants là où se trouve leur voyage. Vous verrez qu'aujourd'hui, ils sont en train de charger, d'embarquer là-bas. Vous verrez que Fondem, qui fait la même ligne, ils sont les cousins germains, vont aller là-bas. Fondem va garer et vont embarquer. Vous allez voir les bus qu'on aura effacés, c'est-à-dire qu'ils vont refaire une fausse peinture qui vont être là. Et entre-temps, les lobbying, à Tchang, les lits de Tchang sont du RDPC, les lits gouvernementales de Tchang va commencer à mettre la pression au ministre des Transports pour qu'il ait l'ascension. Voilà la triste réalité. Okay. Donc, il est urgent que les populations comprennent, qu'on pose des vraies questions. Que ferons-nous pour que ces genres d'accidents ne puissent plus arriver?
Okay.
Voilà l'essentiel. Voilà la question qu'on devrait se poser. Et à cela, on devrait trouver donc des réponses adéquates.
Okay. Onya Brian Afu, watching from Mile 1 Up Station in Bamenda. Good evening to you. Glad to know that you are watching the program. But Aveni Voyage, as we speak, when you go to Valley Besingé, like he's saying, it is closed. Even the other agency this other way, they are not functional. Non. Ils sont fermés. Ils sont fermés. Je suis passé là-bas au moins 5 fois. Ils sont fermés. According to the law, they are suspended. Oui. Now, Menoir Voyage has been suspended. Who knows? Are we saying that in the next week, if say Guarantee or General are involved, they are going to be suspended? Does it suffice that you suspend an agency? Is that the best way out?
Because
if in the next 3 weeks we have 3 other agencies involved in accidents and then they are all suspended, finally, how do we transport ourselves?
Like I said, that in as much as the sanctions may not be appealing to everybody, but at least it's a way of showing those who lost their lives and family that the government cares and that measures are being taken to ensure that accidents are reduced. The solution may not be right or may be right, but at least it's a measure. If you look at what happened, especially some time ago when General was involved in a series of accidents, they suspended General. But the politics in it is that, as Alex is explaining, that these bus agencies just go and repaint and change the name and put some other name and bam, they're back on the road. I go back to the issue of I am against suspension, but I'm not disputing the fact that suspension is not the strategy used by other governments to show solidarity for those who love their lives. My focus of this issue concerning accidents in Cameroon is that the law enforcement officers should take their job seriously and they should be policed. The law enforcement officers should be policed. Look at when you are going to Boya, Miselele. When you are at Miselele, the only thing they control is your ID card and the driver to give, I think, a certain level of money. But how do they look at overloading? They don't look at overloading. You see, we are seated in a jam-packed situation. We are talking about the fact that people in the stadium should sit 1 meter each, separated from each other. But when we look at the buses in itself, the buses are tight. And you ask yourself, what are the police doing that people are passing in that road? What if that private vehicle has an accident? What if a private vehicle has an accident? Will you suspend all private vehicles because accidents keep happening? No, suspension is not an issue. The issue should be hold those who are responsible, punish them, and look at this the way forward. We always suspend drivers, but we forget to understand that there are issues in that road that cause accident. And if you are in that driver's position, you may even do worst. For example, Mr. Kum, go to Yaoundé Road. Look at the too many bends we have at Yaoundé Road. How many road signs and symbols do we still have on those roads? How many white lines do we still have on those roads to indicate that this is bypass, this is where you speed, this is where you don't overspeed? How many do you have to indicate that there is a hill, there is a valley here, slow down? How many? We don't have. The absence of road signs and symbols is a contributing factor to many of the road accidents we have. And equally, the lone lane of the road. How do you expect? I was in Kenya. I looked at the road network. In other sub-town, not major, not in Nairobi, in part, there's a quarter, they call that C16. It's like Bonaberry. When you look at the road, we have 4-lane road, 4 this way, that's 8. In such a road, for a main road, which is not a main road rather. You come to a main road, there are 10 when you are entering Nairobi. 10. You have vehicles, so you see the road, and the position where they would have take the road meandered, but they prefer that if you meander, it will cause a lot of accidents. So what they did is, as we have in Bakwasupe, they did a flyover. So a flyover takes you straight. If you have a flyover that looks at that road straight, it gives you a better opportunity that drivers can prevent accidents. So sometimes we blame these drivers, but we don't blame the roads. The roads are too small. Look at Yaoundé Road. Ask yourself that how many of those vehicles, if a vehicle is overspeeding or lost control, how can you see? So to me, as your question was, if the next agency have an accident, will they suspend? Yes, they will suspend. How do we transport ourselves? That is a question that is in the hands of the government to tell us how we transport ourselves. As Alex said, Eseka had an accident, but Eseka was not suspended. Probably because we know all maybe it belongs to the government.
No, but they are a monopoly. If they are suspended, what happens?
The issue, Mr. Liu, here is that if Eseka had an accident, the first thing was that the government should have, even if they are monopoly or not, the government should close it. It's a paradigm. Do justice. Tell us that you don't favor in such a way that it let the common man understand that the government is serious with this sanction. Again, I don't like these sanctions. I prefer that the law enforcement officers, Mr. Lo, ask yourself that when we have accidents like this, how many times have you seen the law enforcement officer along that road being investigated? How many? We always hear the driver. But look at the number of people who are in those vehicles. Maybe some of those people died because of the pressure, the tightness of the vehicle, the overloading. Because if that vehicle had 70 passengers, exactly 70, would have had a lot of people who would have saved. Because of the fact that you don't hit your head left and right, but because of the crowded nature, you cannot protect yourself. But this is the way forward. The way forward is that those who are checking our roads, like the police, the miscontrol, should ensure we ask people to calm down, start counting 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. If it's overload, you guarded a vehicle, you forage a vehicle.
Yeah, but what stops you from getting into the car? Everybody sits there, and then you can easily identify persons.
Even through the bordereau. It's the duty of the police to even control the bordereau.
But the worst, the worst is the bordereau. Sometimes bordereau are not even filled. Sometimes they are not filled. There was an accident that happened in a corner. I think that was in 2019. That accident claims the life of, I think, 10 persons. But when we look at the bordereau, I was one of the first people on the scene. The bordereau had different names of people. They did not fill that bordereau. You ask yourself, how did this vehicle pass this road, this Kumba Highway road, without a bordereau? So sometimes my issue here is that the day that we will start hearing that uniform officers are sanctioned because of an accident, then they will take it serious. And the day that we will understand that road signs and symbols are important in Cameroon, then we may not have a lot of accidents. When you're going along Boya from Douala, ask yourself, how many road signs and symbols do you see? How many? When you see at those areas where you had undulating nature of the road, where a vehicle can just slip, There need to be an indication that take care, this road has an undulating nature. But we don't have. Sometimes you see the vehicle lifts up, bam, 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 and comes, and then the driver realizes that there was an undulating vehicle. They always assume that people are used to the road, but there could be a first-time user of that road. There could be a first-time user of that road. So we should start hammering that government should ensure that road signs and symbols are put in place. The routiers should stop collecting their 2,000 because it's a norm that the routier, you see a routier here, you see miscontrol there. After you pay your 2,000 from this routier, you go now and they pay your 1,000 in that miscontrol, 3,000. So when the routiers start taking their job seriously, we will a bit come out from this accident.
Yes, but the Minister of Transport may have done his job to save face, but should a superior person to the minister not also sanction the minister and his officials? Because you ask the question what our road safety guys who are working under the Ministry of Transport are doing. Like he raised, there is a divisional delegation of transport in Menwa division. There is a regional delegation of transport for the West region in Bafoussam. All of these guys, have they been doing their job? Is this not also a time to sanction some of them?
Somebody said, I saw it on social media, that this 2021, all the false prophets will be exposed. I think this accident just came like an eye-opener to expose the laxity in our administration, the laziness in our administration. We are talking about road safety officers. We even talk about the police. They even endeavor to even check ID cards and look at some faces that look suspicious. These road safety officers, they don't do anything. They work nothing. They come and look for an umbrella. They sit under and park their cars beside and lean, and they're drinking a bottle of alcohol and waiting for every car that passes. You come and pay a tithe before you go. Okay, look at this scenario in Bamenda. When you leave Commercial Avenue, the city Kmer, to Bambili, there are 8 police controls on the way, and at each control you must settle. They say you must settle control, and the settlement is it ranges from 1,000 francs. If a taxi driver should give 1,000 francs to each of those controls, it will be 8,000 francs a day. How much is he going to give to the taxi owner? How much is he going to take back home? I think that if these men are giving uniforms and some training, of which I am still doubting the type of training they receive at Mutengeni, to make sure that properties and population are protected, and they instead go the other way around to make life difficult for the population and leave the population to themselves. Because we look critically, when cars overload, the passengers are helpless because they will not. Who would they complain to? Will you go to report the driver or the conductor of that bus to the policeman who has no time to check if the bus is in good condition, how many people are sitting in the bus, if the people sitting in the bus are sitting in good condition? He does not care about that. All he cares about is the liquid that will leave the driver's hand into his own hand. And now, when you go to somewhere like Northwest, transport fares have increased. Even I don't know maybe if it's the same thing in the Southwest. Transport fares have increased because they have to settle those controls. Which means that because the military guys have to get money into their pockets, the transporter now transfer these expenses to the consumer, which are the common man. So the government has failed. I think this just explains the fact that this government is witnessing OH.
Yeah, but
and
should the minister not also pay a price? Not only the minister, we have directors.
I said earlier that the minister should have resigned. No, I know only the minister of transport alone. The minister of public works should also resign. The delegates involved should also resign, and those who take the budgets for development and eat it as they were voting it the other day and sharing. What do they do with the money? They should resign, because we are talking about this road linking to about 2 regions or more. Look at the state of the road. I think that time has come. Either they do something on that same road, or they create another road elsewhere that will link these regions, and not so that the usage of that road will be minimized. Because Alex was saying earlier that the plan of the road was that they were supposed to make a flyover that the cars coming up should take a flower and the one going down should pass under. It would have been better. We wouldn't have this coalition today. But since these people love money more than the security and safety of the population, they prefer that people should die, the whole Cameroonians should die, so that they sit in power. Mr. Leo, 53 lives. So the post of this minister is more than those lives. I think that what I expected to hear from Mr. Bia is that this minister should resign, and all those officials, because these guys who sit on the road in the name of police officer controlling, they are sent by their commissioners. Because any money that they collect from the extort from passengers on there and road users, police commissioners have a share inside. So they are accomplices to this the people who have to the death of these 53 Cameroonians. They prefer to protect, and now I think that the government is old enough. 38 years, it's showing clearly that they have nothing to offer, Mr. Leo. When a cloth is too old, at the given point in time you watch it, it tears. When it tears, you saw this part, the other part tears. You saw another part, the other part tears, because it has lost its value. This government is tired. They should back and go and give space to another person.
Good evening to you, peace-loving hearts, and to you, Victor Noko, who thinks that the drivers are to blame. Gani Gilbert, good evening to you, and to you, Anita Eno, and to you, Swilaru Pros, good evening to you, Fru. Nix and Day, and to all of you watching us via social media, Alex Ngepi. Now, should the government not also think of organizing this sector?
Oui, effectivement, nous avons identifié l'infrastructure routière. Il y a aussi l'organisation du secteur de transport et ce qui devrait englober tout, mais avant toute chose. Je vais dire, dans toute chose, il faut prévoir des solutions. Le gouvernement, par exemple, avait le choix de construire une route à passage à niveau, au niveau de la vallée, de la falaise de Tchang, c'est-à-dire une route où les gens pouvaient circuler en dessous et d'autres au-dessus. C'était possible. Ils ont expliqué que ça coûterait cher. Mais il y avait une voie de contournement passant par la rentrée de Foucault, qui sortait à Bafan, qui était moins accidenté. C'est-à-dire, à l'époque, on a demandé au gouvernement de pouvoir donc réhabiliter donc la voie qui de Tchang pour Foucault, qui était un arrondissement de Tchang, et il sortait à Bafan, et il devait donc permettre donc de passer par Bafan et aller par... oui, non, même pas Mélan, c'est-à-dire qu'on va avoir deux routes en fait pour l'ouest, en fait, pour vivre sur le littoral. La route de Sanchou, Consamba et Consort, l'autre route devait passer là, par le 14 là. Il y a un route là, un route de Bafan, on appelle ça quoi là, le BAM, là, j'oublie, chez les Bassas là, il devait sortir là, et il devait être même plus court. Donc il y avait cette voie-là qui était possible. Mais le gouvernement a refusé carrément, d'utiliser cette route-là. Comprenez un peu, c'est-à-dire, au lieu de continuer à créer l'escapton au niveau de la falaise, donc on aurait pu, même au niveau de Mélan, rejoindre Bafan et emprunter, sortir par Fokwe et aller sur Bamenda, c'était des voies de continuement. Donc, le gouvernement camerounais n'a jamais pensé à planifier l'infrastructure routière. Le gouvernement camerounais a toujours pensé à conserver les vieilles traditions, c'est-à-dire ne pas planifier. Maintenant, ceci étant dit, je vais maintenant m'atteler sur l'organisation du transport. Ce qui cause l'accident, en fait, ce sont les humains, ce sont les véhicules, mais il y a des produits relatifs qui sont transportés. Maintenant, c'est trop facile pour le gouvernement camerounais d'accuser minimum espèce. Est-ce que dans une économie telle que celle du Cameroun, on peut transporter l'essence dans les bidons? Nous sommes conscients que le transport des produits fratés comme le carburant se passe dans des camions citernes appropriés répondant aux normes internationales, notamment la norme Union européenne et d'autres normes. Nous sommes conscients de cela. Mais lorsqu'on se met à transporter ces produits-là dans des bidons, parce qu'en fait, il faut qu'on le dise, c'est parce que l'essence a pris feu qu'on a eu autant de morts. Maintenant, la question est de dire, on se pose la question, où venait cette essence? D'après nos sources, on a deux théories. C'est que, ces produits viennent de l'armée camerounaise, dans ce cas, cela constitue dans les communes de guerre de nos que nous dénonçons. Parce que lorsque on soupçonnerait que la base de l'armée qui se trouve autour de Bafstam et à l'entrée des consorts, que les gens vont siroter et ils vont donc remplir des bidons pour aller vendre et que cela va donc entraîner un accident, il est clair que les généraux doivent être interpellés, des collègues doivent être interpellés. Nous comprenons que le gouvernement ne veut pas ouvrir ce pan des communes de guerre qui se passent sur nos eaux. Nous sommes conscients qu'au sud du Cameroun, qui est ma base politique, les transporteurs de plumiers siphonnent l'essence dans leur réservoir et revendent ça aux gens qui font du zoazois, qui vont le ménager avec du pétrole et ça qui est vendu aux transporteurs. Mais dans la zone de l'Ouest, en principe, les produits frelatés viennent du Nigeria en principe. Quand il n'y a pas de guerre, c'est-à-dire par Bamenda, vous avez Kumba, vous avez Limbé, c'est là les ports d'entrée dans cette zone-là des produits frelatés qui viennent du appelle fédéral ou Zoazois chez nous. Mais pour ce cas particulier, c'est quand on se rend donc compte que la frontière passant par Bamenda a des difficultés, a des problèmes, vu ce qui se passe là-bas, donc le seul fournisseur en une quantité suffisante n'est que l'armée camerounaise. Il n'y a pas de travaux de construction routière dans ces zones qu'on pourrait soupçonner. L'entreprise. Non.
L'entreprise qui est en train
Oui,
de
mais
faire sur la route à Robert Djoubobenda.
Oui, mais c'est je vous dis, sur du BTP, hein, cette entreprise-là n'aurait pas la capacité de fournir une telle quantité de carburant. Parce que c'est le fournisseur, tout de suite, ça se saurait au niveau de cette administration. Donc, il n'y a que l'armée camerounaise qui a la capacité, il faut qu'on se le dise, de fournir une telle capacité, une telle quantité. Maintenant, oui, maintenant, si donc, il ferait donc important que les enquêtes puissent être approfondies et si la responsabilité de l'armée arrive à être prouvée, alors venir suspendre Ménois Express Voyage devient de l'amusement. C'est quand même se moquer de ces personnes. Si la responsabilité de l'armée est établie, que ces produits frelatés venaient de nos bases, des bases des forces de défense dans les Camerounaises, il faille donc qu'on pousse ça plus loin. Et dans ce cas, le gouverneur aurait eu l'information de cela. Le gouverneur donc, de l'Ouest devrait démissionner. Que l'autre qui vient jouer au pyromane, dit qu'il serait proche de l'État, il devrait d'abord simplement démissionner. Parce que c'est lui qui a le contrôle de cette zone. Et si l'armée est impliquée, il dit que le gouverneur de l'Ouest doit remettre sa démission.
Okay, good evening, Mr. Liu. It's so sad about your topic of today. We don't have a big road. What we have is a trap for Cameroon citizens to be dying every day. It is too much. We need a new government. Chin Clinton, a Kenya Berinui, writing from Douala. Good evening to you, Mr. Liu, and all in the studio. For me, I don't see the need for the suspension of the company, because reports say the lorry carrying the fuel had a brake failure, and that was the only way the lorry driver could reduce the speed. Let's blame the government for bad roads. Zantu is writing from Dubai. Good evening to you, Zantu. Good evening, Mr. Liu and the people in the house. Suspending the company is not enough, because doing that is only to protect the company from maljustice. Mr. Liu, we need to know the military officers that will accompany the truck and the custom officers. Ngwa, writing from Bamenda. Good evening, Mr. Liu. This is Dambaba from Bamenda. Suspending Menua is not the way forward. The ministries of transport and defense have failed woefully. Both ministers should resign. They failed when you are given a post of responsibility and you realize you are not up to the task, you resign. That's leadership. I don't want to go into the details. They know what I'm saying. Thanks. Thank you, Dan Baba. Good evening, Mr. Leo and co. I'm watching from Germany. The government should think of how to restructure good roads and make sure the various cars on the roads should be on good conditions, because some of those cars on the way are fully depreciated cars that are not supposed to be used. So we blame the government. Legan Basil, writing from Germany. Hello, Mr. Leo. Good evening. I'm Nelson from Scotland. One driver should not be allowed to drive from Bamenda to Douala or Yaoundé. An accident should be made crime against humanity. This will force the government to fix the roads. Hello, good evening. I appreciate the program. Brian is writing from Bafusam. Good evening to you, Brian. Hello, Mr. Liu. Some of those to be sanctioned are the bosses of the gendarme and custom officers who were in the truck. Ntenge Moses is writing from Womb. It is a pity that we can show to the world how well we practice social distancing as the case in the ongoing Shan, but behind the scene, buses and taxis are overloaded and go without sanctions. Why would they not overload when they are being stopped after each kilometer? To settle greedy road officers who care only for their pockets. Kiven Valerie is writing from Yaoundé. Good evening to you, Kiven. Good evening, Mr. Liu. All the road accidents in Cameroon is being caused by all the road safety men and police. They need to be sanctioned. Okay. Good evening, Mr. Liu. Before fuel leaves the region, the Ministry of Mines and Energy, the DO, the governor, the customs, and the forces of law are aware that is the chain for the management of illegal fuel in Cameroon. It's sad. It's said that this fuel leaves from the northwest. Then this team responsible for the management of this fuel needs to be sanctioned. You apparently should not applaud the governor of the west region for coming to the spot. That amount of fuel cannot pass through his region without his knowledge. Stella, writing from Boya. Good evening to you, Stella. Good evening to you all in the studio. It's really sad to see people lose their lives this way. Is that still above the government of this country to construct and make it safe? For users, our leaders are not serious. Terence is writing from Mutengene. Good evening, Mr. Liu and all in the house. Mr. Liu, the government will not sanction anyone because right here in Bamenda, at every control post, there is a table whereby someone sits there and collects money from people openly, which means the government is aware of all the atrocities. Pamela is writing from Bamenda. We are going to take this 5 minutes to discuss with a guest, a special guest in the program, to tell us a little bit about education. His name is Professor Tala Kashim. He is the rector of the Higher Institute of Business Management and Technology, Himat Boya. They are having their graduation ceremony out here in Douala, at their campus out there in Douala tomorrow. Good evening, Professor. We're glad to have you.
Thank you very much. I'm glad to be here too.
How is Himat doing?
Himat is doing great. And we are happy that we are having our first graduation ceremony, what we call convocation, tomorrow here in Douala, on our campus at Carrefour Eurojos.
Carrefour Eurojos is in Bonamusadi, out here in Douala, Cameroon's economic capital. Yes, they are graduating. It means that they have been prepared and found worthy to be able to satisfy the needs of the job market.
Yes, you know, in every Anglo-Saxon university, there are two solemn ceremonies. The matriculation, which is organized to sanction a student's official entry into a university, and convocation, which sanctions his exit. Now, for you to pass through convocation, you must have passed all your prescribed exams. You must have been found worthy in character and in learning to be awarded your diploma or your degree. In this case, we are awarding the Bachelor of Technology degree, BTech, under the mentorship of the University of Bamenda.
Okay. What is peculiar with these students that are going to be leaving school tomorrow?
Well, several things. First, they are the first batch.
Okay.
Secondly, they are trained professionals in business management and technology. So the graduation ceremony is intended first to congratulate them for their achievement, and then to prepare them for the challenges that await them in the real world of work. And here we want to stress, and we have stressed on them right at HIPMAT, that their duty is to society and not to themselves, and that they should learn to accept responsibility for their actions. Today, on this program, we have heard the several lapses of the administration, lapses of those who are serving or civil servants. Now, this is what we fight against. We hope that this set of students whom we will put on the labor market from tomorrow will, God willing, help to change the direction in which Cameroon is going.
You say HIMAT is training professionals.
Yes.
Yes. How do students graduate as professionals?
Well, first, they undergo the cognitive training, that is the normal coursework, and then they go on internship. HIMAT is lucky to have had major companies in Cameroon that have partnered with it and that accept HIMAT students on internship. I can quote here Dangote, Brasserie du Cameroun, CDC, all the big companies, and the banks, BSEC, EcoBank, and the rest. So, and very soon, when we shall enter into journalism, we hope that my Media Prime will also accept our students.
Okay, tomorrow, how is the day going to look like?
Yes, as usual, you know, HIMAT is an institution founded on very strong Christian moral principles.
Okay.
So we'll usually start with the Thanksgiving Mass to thank God for having seen the students through their academic, should I say, yes. So we'll start with the Holy Mass. After that, the convocation proper will take place. We have the representative of our mentor university, that is the representative of the Vice Chancellor of the University of Bamenda, and other of the directors of all the mentor establishments, that is the Higher Institute of Business, of Commerce and Management, the Higher Technical Teachers Training College, and the Higher Institute of Transport and Logistics. Now, what we want to also impress is that, you know, when students leave a university, they have several avenues open to them. In Cameroon here, I can just name a few, because of time constraints. They can fall bush, since that is the most popular thing for youths to do in Cameroon. They say there are no jobs in Cameroon, so they find themselves in very strange countries in the world, through very strange routes. Some of them die, as we have seen in the Sahara Desert, some die in the Mediterranean Sea, some die even in the Mexico jungle. That is for those who fall bush. Now, some would want to further their education, and here we are happy to state that HIMAT, which is a reputable institution, has a Master's in Business Administration, MBA, which is a very, very recognized section.
Okay.
So we pray that they can come in there. Sorry, and then finally, those who want to go into the world of work, how should they behave? Those are the things that we will tell them.
Okay, so tomorrow we take the rendezvous at the campus of the Higher Institute of Business Management and Technology, HIMAT, out here at Carrefour. You're just in Bonamusadi, Douala, Cameroon's economic capital. Professor, I hope that my Media Prime is invited to be there. We are glad you came to talk to us this evening.
Thank you very much. We look forward to seeing you there.
Okay, we take a short break, and after the break, we continue with our second topic for the evening. Welcome back. You're watching Prime Hour on My Media Prime. We are going to be discussing the second topic for tonight, which has to do with illicit fuel that is sold on our major streets, quarters in the entire nation. We are asking the question whether illicit has become legal. How do we call it illicit, yet they are very, very present? But just to pass this information, that if you think that you have an important information to pass out there on your business, you can call us. We'll give you 5 minutes, like we did with Himat, to pass that information to your target audience. Just call us after the program and give us the information you want us to pass out there, and we give you the opportunity. I start with you, Tamfu Jones. They call the fuel Zwazwa. Everybody, it is illicit, but me and you, we know that if they say go and buy Zwazwa in Douala, you know every road junction that you can easily get them. In Boya is the same, in Bamenda is the same. Why do we call it illicit when it's just very present?
That's the question, because Alex mentioned earlier on how the thing gets into the market, because it has a good market after all. What I talk about Zwazwa, I go by memory lane, and I stopped at when for a funny quality of fuel was discovered in one of the very popular filling stations in this city. Yes. So can we conclude that these Zwazwa are not only sold on the street, given that since the fuel consumers don't control the quality of fuel entering their cars, people can still smuggle funny fuel and put in the pumping in the fuel pumps and sell it as good fuel, if one was already caught by some experts. Now, going back to the question you have asked, I still point finger at the government, because Mr. Liu, you and I.
My question is, has illicit become legal?
It has become legal, just as the same way uniformed men extort money from people. How can we describe that? We will say that they are authorized thieves, because the government cannot tell me that they are not aware of the fact that military men extort 1,000 francs from Cameroonians who are unable to acquire an ID card because the material to produce ID cards are finished. Now, if they were not legal, how come they are on the street every day? If they were not legal and they are on the street every day, with all the police control and patrol we have in this country, it means that all the police officials should be dismissed, or they should resign. Then they are not doing their job. If the Zwazwa is not legal, because look, I have met this Zwazwa guy, Mr. Kum, here in Douala and in Bamenda. They tell me that each time a police patrol passes by, they give 1,000 francs at least, and if a day about 3 patrols pass there, police will pass, gendarme will pass. And in Bamenda, as you know it, even the soldiers can even pass and stop there, and they collect their own 1,000 francs. So these people are giving this money. So the government, through the policemen, are now legalizing the illicit fuel. And secondly, if we should call it illicit, what about places where there are communities in this country where we don't have filling station? And it is this Zwazwa that is serving the people. And I believe that in such areas, even the Jews consume this illicit fuel. Should the illicit fuel be considered illicit? Or should it, how can the government control it? Each time they keep saying illicit fuel, now it has killed 53 people. We will come out and sit here. We will condemn from morning till night.
Not only 53, we saw the accident around Limbe. It was because one of the vehicles was transporting.
There was an accident that was late December that killed a Reverend Sister at Ediki. She died because there was an illicit fuel in the passenger vehicle. So when the accident occurred, it caught fire, it caught up in flames, and she was unconscious, and it totally engulfed her and bent her. So that's
what I was saying is that we will not go to enumerate all the people that illicit fuel have killed, because that would traumatize Cameroonians, and we don't want that. I am talking about the most recent, which is that of because each time it will kill, the government will condemn. Mr. Biya will send his condolence message. The governor will come to the scene, and after that, they go back to their various positions. The delegate is receiving his own from the 1,000 the people collect. the commissioners are receiving their own package from the 1,000 that their boys collect on the field, and the illicit trade continues freely without anybody disturbing. Because you go to those guys, they complain that the military is not leaving them to do their business quietly.
Yeah, but my question is, how do we call something illicit? But they are displayed across the cities of this nation. Almost everybody sees them.
The government is feeding far from it.
That be? Yes.
Oui, je vais dire, ce qu'on appelle le zoazois, c'est un produit illicite. Hein. Il y a des provenances. Il faut identifier les sources d'approvisionnement. Il y a 2 sources d'approvisionnement du zoazois. La première source est nationale. La seconde source est internationale. D'abord, ma prise de parole va s'atteler d'abord sur la source nationale. La source nationale, elle est illicite. C'est la sauvette, en fait. C'est la sauvette. C'est-à-dire, ce n'est pas le produit elle-même qui est illicite, mais c'est le mode d'acquisition qui devient illicite, le mode de vente qui devient illicite. C'est-à-dire, à partir du moment où, comme source d'approvisionnement, alors par exemple dans le secteur du transport, les grumiers, qui sont les premiers fournisseurs de zoazois dans le sud du Cameroun, dans le GU Aliméré, c'est-à-dire que vous avez ces grumiers qui prennent une bonne quantité pour le transport. Les chauffeurs de grumiers, déjà, ils s'arrêtent dans ces endroits, qui vont siphonner et vont le revendre à des tarifs bas du marché, aux gars qu'on appelle les coétiens, parce que c'est l'expression, les vendeurs de oiseaux s'appellent les coétiens. Donc, coétiens qui sont stationnés sur la route, ces personnes-là vont les prendre, ils vont les mélanger avec du pétrole, ils vont les revendre plus moins cher que le produit sur le marché. Donc, voilà une source d'approvisionnement de oiseaux interne. Et effectivement, donc, à partir de ce moment-là que ces personnes le vendent, elle devient illicite. Parce que ceux qui ont la charge de vente des oiseaux, ce sont les stations à essence, ce sont les stations camerounaises, et ils sont identifiés par l'État du Cameroun. Donc lorsqu'une personne n'entre pas dans le mécanisme de vente de ce produit, même si le produit même peut provenir de la Sonara, parce que ces chauffeurs-là sont fournis à partir d'eux, donc le produit reste illicite. Donc ce sont des sources d'approvisionnement. Vous avez des entreprises de travaux publics, lorsqu'ils sont en train de construire des routes, par exemple. Alors, ces entreprises-là, les employés ont tendance aussi à siphonner, parce que, et ça joue sur la quantité de route, parce que une route, pour compacter une route, on peut dire, il faut par exemple 10 passages de compaction. Alors, les chefs chantiers peuvent s'arranger à faire 4 passages, et 3 passages ou 5 passages de pétrole, de carburant qui devrait être utilisé, et donc siroté et revendu au marché noir, dans le produit devenant illicite. Parce qu'en fait, c'est ça qu'il faut identifier. Et c'est l'une des raisons pour lesquelles est-ce que les routes sont souvent mal compactées, les routes sont souvent mal faites, et après un temps, vous avez des nids de poules. Cela fait aussi partie des problèmes qu'on identifie sur la qualité des routes. Vous avez aussi, comme source d'approvisionnement, l'administration camerounaise, notamment ceux-là qui font dans les bons de carburant. C'est-à-dire, comme ils savent que les bons de carburant, ils ne peuvent plus les revendre dans les stations, c'est contrôlé, alors ils s'en vont dans des carburants et ils achètent donc, ils échangent ces bons contre du carburant qu'on remplit dans des bidons et ils vont donc les revendre aux Koweïtiens dans les routes. Ça devient du zoazois. L'autre source aussi, pas la moindre, c'est l'armée. Parce qu'il faut qu'on dise aux Camerounais, l'armée a un très fort taux de réserve de carburant, pas c'est l'armée. C'est-à-dire l'armée est une grosse station à essence, même la plus puissante station à essence du Cameroun. C'est-à-dire que l'armée camerounaise devrait avoir les capacités de pouvoir maintenir ses opérations même pendant 6 mois. Si jamais il y a rupture de carburant, elle devrait pouvoir continuer à assumer la sécurité des Camerounais, que ce soit la police ou bien l'armée proprement dit. Donc tous les FMO ont cette capacité d'au moins 6 mois de stockage. Ce sont les stratégies qu'on met pour tous les États. Alors, on a donc des généraux véreux, on a donc des administrateurs véreux qui sont dans l'armée camerounaise, qui font donc dans la revente illicite de ces produits-là aux Koweïtiens. Ce sont les sources d'approvisionnement du zoazois. Et cela est un manque à gagner pour l'économie camerounaise. Pour le cas de Tchang, par exemple, de l'accident qui a eu lieu, on est conscient que nous avons le collégion de l'Ouest. Je pense au même collégion qui gère. Je pense à l'Ouest, on a un collégion au Nord-Ouest. Donc, ils sont conscients. On a dit, pour le cas de l'Ouest, de Tchang, nous accusons indirectement l'armée. Il faudrait que les enquêtes puissent être menées. Et si c'est le cas, ça veut donc dire que le collégion qui gère, ou bien le légionnaire qui gère la compagnie gendarmerie de l'Ouest et celui du Sud-Ouest deviennent interpellés. Ils sont au courant de cela, c'est le business et cela entre donc dans l'économie de guerre. Donc, c'est un peu ça, les différentes sources d'approvisionnement des oiseaux. On se rappelle l'accident de Sam et Foulane, où le train passait, c'était le train si je me trompe, et il y avait donc
ma question reste, tout ce que vous développez là, c'est bien, mais comment est-ce que c'est devenu légal, licite?
Non, c'est pas, je dis que c'est pas licite.
Pourquoi est-ce qu'on appelle ça illicite, mais c'est presque partout dans nos villes?
Mais je voudrais dire qu'elle est illicite parce que les seuls qui ont la responsabilité de vendre sont les stations essence. À partir du moment où vous vendez dans le produit...
Vous avez démontré que c'est illicite. Mais
illicite.
Comment comprendre que presque dans tous les carrefours dans nos villes, on les retrouve? Est-ce que les gens...
J'arrive. Voilà pourquoi est-ce que d'abord, pour les retrouver, d'abord, il faut identifier les sources d'approvisionnement.
Oui, vous l'avez bien fait.
Et j'ai par exemple, il y avait eu la station de Foulane, où il y avait eu un accident.
Non, finalement, vous ne voulez pas dire... Non. Il doit aussi parler, non?
Oui, d'accord. Donc, maintenant, si on le trouve dans tous les carrefours, de un, parce qu'on a passé des stations d'essence dans la zone reculée. Par exemple, quand vous faites, par exemple, je connais très bien, la route Yaoundé pour Kiossi, c'est-à-dire entre Ebolova et Kiossi, il n'y a qu'une seule station d'essence au niveau d'Ambam. Ebolova Kiossi, une seule. Vous avez presque 275 km de route. Donc vous trouvez encore une station à Kiossi. Donc vous comprenez donc que entre Ebolova et Kiossi, si quelqu'un arrive au milieu là, c'est-à-dire au niveau de Méocentre, et qu'il est en panne sèche, les seuls fournisseurs sont les oiseaux.
Oui.
Donc, ça renvoie donc à la politique d'accès au fouet camerounais. Est-ce que l'État camerounais, par exemple, ne devrait pas chercher à ce que les endroits où les oiseaux sont plus vendus, vous allez remarquer, c'est des zones où avoir une station à essence est difficile.
Est-ce que vous voulez me dire que les zones que vous décrivez là, on vend plus de oiseaux que Douala ici? Je ne suis pas sûr.
Oui, non, je déjà des zones rurales. Hein.
Oui, mais
rurales,
comment expliquer ce qui se passe ici?
Maintenant, pour les zones urbaines, comme Douala, il y a même la complicité d'administration, parce que c'est une économie parallèle. Cela entre dans les sphères de la corruption comme nous décrions, la malgouvernance. Parce qu'on va comprendre que là, par exemple, au niveau des bijoux, en bas des bijoux, on va nous soit là-bas. Nous sommes bien à Douala 5e, et le sous-préfet de la 5e est à 200 mètres. Il est conscient qu'il passe sur le matin, il va dire qui est vendu. Donc, cela rentre dans la malgouvernance, dans la corruption de ceux qui ont la charge de régulariser le marché d'approvisionnement en Cameroun.
No, let him talk also. Now, let's look at, we are talking about fuel, and to be able to conserve fuel, it requires some level of capacity to store because of the dangerous nature of it. To these persons in Douala, you cannot count the number of persons involved in this business line. Do they actually understand what it takes to be able to store fuel?
They don't understand the chemistry and the safety nets in it, especially in terms of a certain level of atmospheric temperature and exposed to a certain level of degree and a certain level of container that conserve that temperature. But what they understand well is the financial remuneration as far as that is concerned. Mr. Liu, I was shocked and taken aback in my quarter when I saw a police officer fueling his bike with the illicit fuel and paying money to the lady. And we have filling stations just few meters away. And I was shocked today coming to work. In one of the, I will not call the junction, a police van come and park, and a lady who is selling that fuel, I was watching.
In Douala, yeah?
Yes, just a few meters, I will not call the place.
Okay.
Left that place, left her business place. Before me, went to that police van, gave 10,000, discussed them with the policeman and gave 10,000, and went back to her position and started selling. I was like, yes, I was shocked again when I went to Limbe. From Limbe, which is the heart of Cameroon, you will start looking at the position of those illicit fuel. You ask yourself, is it not this heart of security in this country, especially in the production of fuel. That how come these same persons are selling illicit fuel in Limbe, along the road, the Limbe, and we have government officials who parade that road, we have military officials who parade that road, and I was shocked again, Mr. Leo, at Sopo, when I went to Boya last week to do my ID, which got expired. When you are climbing Sopo, there is, let me not be calling places, I saw how police van came and parked and discussed with the guy, and the guy dropped something in the vehicle, and the guy went. Just to let you know that it has become a new normal.
It's no longer illicit.
It's not. It's. I don't. Tamfo Jones described it where it's an illicit, non-illicit. There's a new word we have to use because it's. You tell me, how do you define? How do you explain that a police officer goes to this illicit fuel and top the tank where we have filling station just few meters with police uniform, and he paid. And how do you explain the fact that when these vehicles come and park, the seller just come in and discuss and give money and go? And in that scenario, when an accident occurred, there's the risk of those living in that environment. Their lives is at risk because of 10,000. So you are selling those people for 10,000. You are selling those people for 2.5. You are selling those people for 3,000. It's like you pay to sell people. You are paying to sell people for 10,000 because we understand if you go to these filling stations, they respect those conditions in storing those fuels, and sometimes they'll come and check, put some chemical inside, check and look at the temperature and observe it, and before they start selling. But when you look at this other area where we don't have those checks, it tells you the only check we have are financial checks, where these officers go and collect their money. To me, it is a new normal. Why I say it's a new normal is a case in hand is Limbe. How do you explain Limbe? Limbe, Boya. How do you explain Boya? With the level of security, you pass, you see them holding their funnels, just waving their funnel. You see the gendarme will just come and go in front and park with their vehicle, and the person will leave and go and discuss. After an exchange, he come and sell. And at the end of the day, if there's an incident, I think we had an incident somewhere in Boya where
it was in Bamenda.
We had one in Bamenda, and there was one too in Boya last year where it consumed an entire house. You ask yourself, so because of 10,000, you did that. We are not refusing that. People should not take the venture by selling for. If you must do that legally. You must do that with respecting the norms and principles. If you must do that in a way that protects individual. Mr. Leo, this issue of, I don't want to call it illicit fuel. It's not illicit again.
My question is the storage capacity. I think that in the filling stations they have these tanks.
That's why I was explaining.
Now, where are these stored? It's in the quarters now.
Mr. Leo, the common man who is selling does not understand this chemistry that we want to explain. Okay. Let me give you an example. When you go to each filling station, you see that before these guys sell in the morning, there is an engineer, a petrochemical engineer, who comes in and check the temperature of that fuel. Send something inside, check. There is a temperature, certain level of temperature, and they have tankers down that they are built, and they clean the tanker to ensure that that fuel is not contaminated. But to be very honest with you, the common man in Mamu is selling Zoazoa. You come and tell that person that go and dig a tank, do that. That person does not understand that chemistry. All the chemistry that person understands is 1 liter is 6.5, 1 liter is 5.50, 10 liter is this amount, and the police encourages that to tell them that, hey, don't forget. If they were collecting this money and checking the atmospheric temperature or looking at that, I would have even said okay. But they don't even check. They just come and collect.
Yeah, but that's not their domain. Mr. Kum, I hope you've not been bought by the government. You are asking if illicit fuel is legal in Cameroon. There are policemen collecting bribes openly at every corner in the country, but you fail to ask if bribery is legal. That is what we are talking about. Please, good evening, Mr. Kum and the viewers of My Media Prime. Too many Western movies got us thinking we are Westerns. We now talk about the resignation of ministers who are unable to perform their elected or appointed duties. I pray and hope to witness a day ministers in Cameroon will tender his or her resignation. Raymond, writing from United Arab Emirates. Good evening, Mr. Liu. I don't think this fuel is illicit because the openness at which it is being sold makes it legal. Even in front of filling stations, the fuel we call it is found there. Augustine is writing from Dabo. Mr. Liu, I have seen where these policemen pass around and collect money from these guys in Abakwa. Each and every one of the police station have their days that they come around for this activity, and when you don't work with them, they collect your fuel and sell to the person who work with them. So that is the way the policemen work here in Abakwangwa. He's writing from Bamenda. Good evening to you, Ngwa. Good evening, Mr. Liu and all in the studio. The only way to solve the problem of this fuel is for the government to make the price of petrol in Cameroon to be equal or less than the price that are selling Nigerian fuel, because it is very shameful that fuel leaves another country and is cheaper than that of the country after paying controls on the way. Christian Chair is writing from Bamenda. Good evening, Mr. Leo. The product is illicit, but the business is not illicit, because there is a whole chain of activity from Nigeria that the product comes from to the businessman who sells the products. Is Elvis writing from Boya. Elvis, I don't know whether they pay taxes and to who they're paying taxes for to sell that fuel. Good evening, Mr. Leo. I'm very impressed with the topics you bring every day to educate the public. I am Aiden Vioff, watching you from Halifax in Canada. Good evening to you, my brother. Good evening, Mr. Liu, and my regards to the panel members. We are in the field. State government officials are eating fat in the so-called illicit fuel business. That is why it will go on and on. Fofun Cleve, writing from Bamenda. Good evening, Mr. Liu and the panel. Please, God will bless you more and more. When the government wants to stop the sales of roadside fuel, they should reduce the price of original fuel, and it's going to stop, of which I think is impossible because it's a day-to-day salary for police and gendarmes. Callistus, writing from Boya. Charles, writing from Limbe, says, good evening, Mr. Liu. I love the topic, and I want you to know that all the big guns in Cameroon are eating from the illicit fuel, from the customs, the military, policemen on the road. So you see, it cannot be stopped. Cameroon is a country that makes laws just to feed the law officers. Again, the Nigerian fuel is sold on our filling stations, but they tag it illicit just to extort money from Cameroonians. Charles is writing from Limbe. But now, how do we get this fuel even inundating the streets in Cameroon? They pass through our frontiers now, because
with the complicity.
Take the case. Take the case of the Limbe Douala corridor, Mamfe Bamenda corridor. We have very huge quantities that are.
The truth stands that the boundary between Cameroon and Nigeria is so complex that controlling things entering Cameroon from Nigeria or leaving Nigeria to Cameroon is not easy.
Yeah,
because this guy has funny roads.
To leave Limbe to...
No, I am coming there. Let me learn. But leaving the wharfs or the entrance of the country into the town, that's where my problem lies. These people can bypass the custom at the border and enter into the country. But we have police posts, miscontrols everywhere in this country. They could do the control, but yet this fuel come in.
They know the vehicles that transport this.
They know it, and they only take their own share. If you see that they have caught a car transporting this illicit fuel, it is because maybe the person did not settle the amount they wanted the person to settle. And I was about saying something, Mr. Leo. When you look critically, you see that the fuel price in Cameroon is always at the rise. It has never gone down ever since it started rising. When there was the fire incident in Sam, about 9.11 francs was added to the price of fuel for the reparation of Sam. Sam has been repaired. That money was not deducted from the fuel prices. What I am bringing this is because some people go for this illicit fuel because of the few francs less to the as compared to the fuel at the filling at the pumps. They are a little bit cheaper than those at the pumps. So I think that another way of rendering frustrating this guy selling this illicit fuel is to bring down the fuel price to the price of the illicit fuel, maybe, so that the people will stop buying the illicit fuel and go for the real fuel. If not, I don't think removing these guys from the street will be possible, given that they are doing that, they are operating in complicity with some men in uniform. I will not say all, because not all, there are some of them who are doing their jobs very well, but some are out for money making, and through them, this.
But should those that are charged with responsibility of checking this, they're not supposed to consider the welfare, the security, the dangers of the population, especially when we consider the conditions under which this fuel is being transported along our major highways, and the type of vehicles that are engaged in this.
Mr. Kum, I said here earlier that some Cameroonians care only about themselves. Look at what happened. 50 people have died, but people prefer to keep their position. They don't care. After all, they are not their family members. It's not them who have died. So if you think that people will care about the storage nature, the risks to carry the fuel from where they carry it right to where they sell it, it doesn't matter to them. What matters to them is the money they take.
I believe that is why these tankers, they are designed to carry fuel.
Monsieur, le problème du carburant frelaté.
Okay.
Nous, si nous voulons concentrer le débat à la petite chaîne de distribution, ceux-là qui ne sont pas en sécurité, qui vendent, non. Je voudrais te parler des sources d'approvisionnement. J'ai fait exprès de commencer par la source minimale, la source là qui approvisionne ces petites personnes qui vendent, ces petits Koweïtiens-là. Mais la grande source d'approvisionnement du fuel, comme c'est le Nigeria.
Oui, mais...
Et non, permettez-moi, les sources au Nigeria. C'est un problème géoéconomique. Et c'est l'armée. C'est même plus par la voie terrestre. Ça se passe par la voie maritime. Et c'est sous le contrôle de l'armée camerounaise. Parce qu'on est en train de parler du fuel là. On se dit, posez-vous la question. Comment se fait-il que là, à Blamoussadi, les gens sont en train de vendre du fuel à 200 mètres d'une sous-préfecture et que le sous-préfet peut intervenir? Posez-vous la question, comme tout à l'heure on avait dit, de voir même des gens, des militaires, des policiers aller prendre des... Non, parce que l'enjeu du fuel camerounais dépasse même ce qu'on est en train de développer. C'est-à-dire qu'on veut réduire ça à l'aspect sécurité des individus, à l'aspect que quelqu'un a siphonné. Non. Vous avez des batailles qui se passent au niveau de nos côtes. On a eu des scandales impliquant le BIR sur cette affaire entre le Niger et le Cameroun. C'est-à-dire que le marché du transport du fuel à l'intérieur du Cameroun n'est même plus terrestre. Le marché terrestre a été coupé à plus de 75% avec la guerre du nord-ouest, du sud-est camerounais. On a des rapports où on vous dit clairement que le contrôle des produits frelatés camerounaises se passe entre la frontière maritime camerounaise et la frontière maritime nigérienne, et que la mer marchande même est écartée, les douanes sont écartées. C'est quand même devenu un business du BIR, de l'armée camerounaise. Puis c'est eux qui sont dans cette zone-là. Bon, on semble vouloir ignorer ça et prendre le sujet parce qu'on va être possiblement quoi. Non. Mais faites des enquêtes de ce côté. Qui fait entrer le fuel au Cameroun? C'est bel et bien le BIR qui le fait. Les rapports sont là. Et c'est devenu une source d'enrichissement pour l'État, pour des personnes qui sont dans le gouvernement, pour la défense. Maintenant, pourquoi j'ai dit que c'est un enjeu géopolitique et géoéconomique? Pourquoi? Dans les années 1986, le fuel au Nigeria était vendu à peine à 0,75 naira. Dans les années 1982, le fuel était vendu au Nigeria à 0,33 naira. Dans les années 2005, le fuel est monté déjà à 11 naira. Mais quand on a consommé 11 naira, par rapport à la conversité camerounaise, vous verrez que ça ne représente rien. C'est tout très méchant. Parce que le Nigeria a la possibilité d'exploiter le fuel à bas prix, de raffiner à bas prix et de le revendre. Et ils ont mis sur pied une politique de vente du fuel au Nigeria très moins cher. Et c'est eux qui alimentent le Bénin, tous les pays voisins du Nigeria. Tandis que le fuel camerounais coûte très cher. Le fuel qui est raffiné, qui n'aime pas, parce que le fuel camerounais n'aime pas au peuple camerounais, ça vient de la Guinée et des pays d'Afrique de l'Ouest. Quand on revient là, à la Sunarante, non, on vient stocker, on revend. Et elle coûte très très cher. Et il y a même eu des enjeux, des problèmes géoéconomiques entre le Nigeria et plusieurs pays producteurs de fuel, où on disait que le Nigeria est en train de revendre ce produit extrêmement moins cher à la population. Maintenant, je vais vous dire quelque chose. Ces années-là, la monnaie nigérienne, le naira, n'avait pas un taux de convertibilité avec d'autres monnaies étrangères. Donc, le fuel, la politique, parce que c'était presque légalisé au Nigeria, c'est-à-dire qu'il y avait des raffineries, des gens siroutaient et on revendait ça, l'État nigérien a laissé cela se passer parce qu'il savait que la revente du foie Nigeria au Cameroun devait permettre au Niger d'avoir les devises de franc CFA. Et cela devait donc permettre à une convertibilité du franc CFA puisque le franc CFA est convertible avec une parité avec l'euro, avec le franc français, qui est de 100 francs CFA donne 1 franc français et qui fait dans 655 francs euros. Donc c'est donc ça que le Niger a cherché et le Niger a utilisé le foie camerounais afin d'avoir les devises sans passer par le marché conventionnel parce que le Naira a ce problème de convertibilité. Donc, quand nos généraux, le gouvernement camerounais a su cette affaire, ils ont que de régulariser le marché du foie. Il y a des gens qui ont dit qu'il faut baisser le prix du carburant au Cameroun. Mais ça, le Cameroun est déjà subventionné parce que ça coûte cher aux contribuables et à du Cameroun. Donc, ils ont donc fait une affaire de business. Dans le foie là du Nigeria, c'est une affaire qui monte jusqu'à la présidence de la République. Mais si on veut attaquer le foie camerounais, qu'on veut l'attaquer seulement sur l'apport des petits commerçants là, des petits courtiers, non. C'est une affaire qui va au-delà de ça.
Oui, mais c'est pas ça. Le problème, je crois que l'intention de regarder ça, c'est l'aspect sécuritaire et le danger que ça pose pour la population. Is the population actually aware of the dangers that actually that are near to them, given the presence of this illicit fuel? Because if not 50 meters from here, we know where they sell it. Down Bonamusari, we know where they sell it. Almost everywhere in the quarters. Are we aware of the dangers of the presence of this fuel in our quarters?
I think we are not quite aware of the danger, simply because we are looking more of the economy of it, and because those who are selling it seemingly are our loved ones. And sometimes it's difficult for you to see the danger except when an incident occurs. Some are aware. I remember some persons will not allow you to do such a business in their quarter when they know that it is dangerous. But because of the fact that the economy is hard, because of the fact that it's difficult to have jobs, because of the fact that it's difficult for you to open a business without you constantly facing patang and the rest, it's easier for you to do such a business, and you just have to deal with the police in their nature, and you give them money and you do your business and get going. So a lot of factors put this awareness into the dustbin, and people tend to look more of the economic side of it than the security and safety side of it. Because if you look at most of those dealing with this fuel, you ask yourself that a part of this, if they were to do their business genuinely, what are the documents that they'll have to operate? If they were to do a different business, where are the jobs? If they were to do something, where would they start from? So sometimes the family just corroborate the fact that, oh, this is just this guy's livelihood. If I have to
sacrifice
themselves to that guy to survive, because you ask yourself, if I chase him out of this place, how will he survive? Maybe he can. There's always that tendency that he can become a criminal. He can become. So sometimes, because of the difficulties in the economy, people tend to underlook the security side of it and overlook now the economic side of it. But however, I think the civil society organizations have a great role to play. We've seen campaigns as far as armed conflict is concerned, campaign of HIV, campaign of malaria, but we've not seen that robust campaign from civil society
Nobody
organizations.
even talks about it, eh?
Nobody talk about it. We've not seen that campaign from civil society organizations, rights group, political parties, to even sensitize the public of the danger in dealing with this fuel in urban environment, of the danger. We don't see them. We only see them in terms of political action, in terms of issues that they will make gain. I think it is time good enough. Maybe they were not aware. We are informing them now that it is a danger. This poses a lot of danger in our environment. So they should take that as a crusade and start educating the common man that don't just look at the economy. We know things are hard, but don't just look at this economy. Look at the danger involved in your life. Look at the situation involved in this. So they organize, civil society organizations, political parties, they have that great role to play. I always say that we have, as civil society organizations, have become political in such a way that they only focus on right, freedom of expression when it comes to election. But when it comes to other things like this, they don't. We were expecting, like this incident that are called in Chang, how many of these civil society organizations have actually paid a working visit to those survivors? How many of them have actually taken a bold step to say, hey, government, let us know how those 22 survivors are doing. Let us have the figure in our hands. Let us, none. You see them, they are just in their cocoon. But if it was election, you will see all the civil society organizations will say no to election violence, no to this, no to that, no to freedom of speech, because they know that that is where they eat, they get their money. But their principal objective is to educate the masses as of what is danger, what poses threat to them. But we don't see that. So to me, if you are watching us, you have an NGO, you have a civil society organization, Alan Gaby of a political party, Tanfu Jones of Moderna, and Prince Ekoso of his political party, and Senior Barrister Ashu. It is time for you guys to go to work, start educating the common man, not just on election, but on things that will save their lives. So that when it comes to election,
if quotas are burnt down, who are you
going to campaign to?
Okay.
So to me, we should look at this focus.
Okay, Mr. Leo, good evening. Funge is 450 francs per liter and is readily available, while Cameroon fuel is 638 francs per liter, and I have to go to a different town to get it because there is no filling station around me. You see why I prefer Funge. Ben is writing from Mutengene. There is a filling station in Mutengene, Ben. My brother, it's an open secret. Who is not aware about what's happening in Wovia village in Limbe? Why chase the win? Okay, we have to start talking about it. It's a nice topic to sensitize our lawmakers, the population of this country living under the poverty line. Okay, poverty line is just high, so our leaders should go into details like this to understand that prices of basic commodities in this country has to be slashed. Fuel from Nigeria can be sold at 500 a liter, while that produced in our country is sold at 650 francs. Good evening, sir. My opinion on the accident is that the government should build up a barrier to separate the road into two sections and to build a wall to prevent vehicles falling off the cliff. Separate the road into two sections in the sense that no car can overtake the other, hence they will be forced to move behind the other. Okay, you say it's a shame concerning the fuel issue. This one says, good evening, Mr. Liu and all in the studio. How does this illicit fuel get into the country when we have custom officers stationed on all our highways? In Bamenda, gendarmes are no longer collecting money from the vendors in hiding. Okay, Derek is writing from Bamenda, so they do it openly. Mr. Kum, kindly inform your technical team that I can hear all their whispers. They should work on that. Raymond, I don't know who's whispering where. Okay. I appreciate the ongoing debate. Mr. Liu, I'm not surprised with the reaction of the government to the accident. Same mistakes committed over and over. In the days ahead, I predict more to occur. We are always reactive than proactive in road accidents control in Cameroon. Many factors have been advanced in the past for the occurrences. Reckless driving, yes. Excessive speed, yes. Poor state of the roads, yes. But these are not the fundamental factors. In a study we are carrying on this issue, 45% of the cause of road accident in Cameroon are collision, resulting from poor structure of the roads. If our roads are redone to have more than one lane, this will avoid contact no matter how excessive the speed of driving is. Number of road users and vehicles have increased, but the roads remain static since the period of independence. Okay. How many people died in the accident? Bless is writing from Bali. 53 persons died. Good evening, Mr. Liu. All those responsible for road safety in Cameroon needs to be sanctioned. I'm Simon Peter writing from Mancon. Good evening, Mr. Leo, and to all in the studio. I would like to say that the government decision is not the best. Let's just consider this just at the beginning of this year. We have had a series of accidents that have claimed lives of innocent citizens, e.g. 6 students that died in Balmayo Avenue with its own case. The truck along the Penja Road 2 weeks back, the Yaoundé-Douala road accident that claimed the lives of over 5 persons. Now in menu, where are we heading to in this country? The government has a lot to both in road maintenance and sensitization. Okay, Prince Will is writing from Dubai. Good evening to all in the studio. Now we have forgotten so soon about the one of Avenue Agency. Nothing has been done. And now it's barely 1 month. We are now talking about Chang. Who knows what is coming next? We are only hoping on God. As for the government, they have I'm Brown writing from Boya. Good evening, Mr. Liu, and to the panel. The program is interesting and hoping the right eyes and ears are following up. What is happening in Cameroon now is just no comment. Only God can only help us because sanctioning the agency won't stop the accidents, but their routes should be looked into. Foba Roland writing from Bomenda. Now, is there any way you think this illicit fuel selling situation could be organized in Cameroon?
Organized by legalizer?
I don't know.
Because
why not ask anybody who is involved in it to get their fuel out of town?
It won't be possible. It won't be possible because first of all, what quantity do they have? They don't have. We cannot say that if you get to them, you'll be able to get let's say 200 liters of fuel. No, they buy in little quantities, as Alex was saying earlier, that they buy from these truck drivers who reduce those fuels from their towns to sell it at lower prices, so that these guys can in turn resell it to the local consumers. And you must understand too that those guys who drive how do they call it, these tankers, at a given point in time when they go and deliver, they look for somewhere, they bend the tanker one-sided and start draining the fuel, the leftovers in the tank, and those are the fuel that are sold. And these guys, some of them go and manipulate on it and mix it with the kerosene so that it will become much, and then they sell it at a lesser price. What I am saying that I said earlier is that fuel prices should be reduced. Fuel prices should be reduced to the point that it will frustrate the illicit fuel that enters into the country to gain market. Because if fuel prices are reduced, nobody will go for illicit fuel. And if filling stations are also constructed everywhere, because when we blame the circulation of illicit fuel, we don't blame also the lack of filling stations everywhere. Filling stations are not everywhere in this country. There's one in Camer and 49 kilometers away, that's in Akko subdivision. There's no filling station there. So these guys live on illicit fuel. So if you say that illicit fuel should stop, why would the guys survive? They will not.
Yes.
So
if the government knows that we don't have these filling stations, how do you even organize the sector so that it makes more sense?
I think they have experts who can do that. I will not give suggestion here because the suggestions we have been given, they have not been taken into consideration. But what I stand to say is that fuel is too expensive in Cameroon, and that the prices should be cut down. They should slash down the prices so that it would discourage people from selling illicit fuel. Because if the price were cut down, I think the gains that these guys make, the profit they make from selling this illicit fuel, will no more be there. They will be discouraged and they will look for other businesses to do. But if these fuel prices remain the same, because on these fuel prices, there are taxes. As I said earlier, that there was an amount that was added to the fuel price because of the reparation of some. After the reparation of some, the fuel prices still remain at its height. Who is taking this additional money? Somebody is taking it. Who is that person? We don't know. The taxes that are meant for road maintenance, that are meant for, because they consider that when there are droplets of fuel during transportation, it destroys the tar. So there is the tax on those fuel, both on gasoline and fuel, to maintain for road maintenance. The roads are not maintained. Where is the money going to? So since the Cameroonians cannot directly get or benefit from this tax, directly or indirectly, I think the taxes should be cut off, because if we look at those taxes, they will cost about 150 francs. If 150 francs can be slashed off, the fuel price will go down to 500 francs. I think it will be affordable to Cameroonians, and I will discourage these guys selling fuel in the town. But in the suburbs, they can do it, because in the suburbs it's less dangerous. In the suburbs, houses are not choked up. People build houses, they respect some certain distances. But here in Douala, houses are just, they're in marriage. So I think government should slash down the fuel prices. Maybe it will go a long way to control the circulation of illicit fuel. If not, I don't see a possibility, because in as much as they are saying that they are fighting the circulation of illicit fuel, we still find men in uniform going about collecting money. When you collect money from a criminal for stealing goods, it means that you have encouraged him to go and steal again, and then they come and give my own share. Because when they collect money from them, they are taking a share of from the sales of the illicit products. It means that these men in uniform are encouraging it. So in every city or every quarter where illicit fuel is sold, I think that the government should hit hard on the military men in that area, so that they stop collecting money from the fuel and do the right thing. But because if they seize this fuel today, seize tomorrow, these guys will stop selling. Okay. But when they seize, they go and sell to the guy's neighbor who cooperate. The guy's neighbor will still take and sell to the other to the consumer. So the government has everything before it to do so that this illicit sale of fuel can come to an end. And also they should provide jobs.
Okay. Good evening, Mr. Liu. I prefer buying illicit fuel because it is cheaper, and I'm sure of the quantity inside, since I'm seeing that the container is full. With the filling station, I doubt the quantity entering my car or bike, since there is cheating in everything in this country. Living is writing from Bamenda. Good evening, Mr. Liu. How many people die in the Gaucho from Old Town? If you are talking about the Chang Hill accident, 53 persons died. Hello, Mr. Liu. Greetings to you all in the studio. Zwazwa business in Bamenda is not illegal anymore. People spend about 400,000 for control from Ekok to Bamenda. Just one custom post collects at least 35,000 for each vehicle. Okay. No. So it's big business. Mr. Kum, surviving a day in Cameroon is equivalent to surviving a plane crash. Okay. Greetings, Mr. Liu. It is rather unfortunate that everything in Cameroon is possible. Talk less about illicit fuel. Is there even one fuel filling station that sells real fuel in this country? Those selling illicit fuel are known by the authorities in our towns. The senior commissioners, DOs, brigade commanders have their elements who every Saturday go round and collect an agreed amount on behalf of their bosses. I've seen in 3 occasions where at about 2 to 3 a.m. fuel tankers leave a village where some importers of illicit fuel live and take to a filling station, pour into their supply system and sell to the motor owners. Have you asked yourself how cocaine, marijuana, tramadol, other illegal drugs enter into the country and our towns? I am Mr. Ebwe, writing from Limbe. Okay. You think that the solution to what we are talking would require the government to reduce the cost of fuel at the filling stations?
Le gouvernement camerounais ne va jamais réduire le prix du pétrole au niveau de la pompe.
Pourquoi?
Pas intérêt. Je vous dis, ce gouvernement, elle a lancé les génocides économiques. Parce que je veux dire, le fuel camerounais, d'abord, quand le Cameroun a commencé à produire du pétrole, ce n'était pas budgétisé. Pendant longtemps, ça a entré dans la question du pétrole, de la présidence et de l'administration. C'est-à-dire, pendant une bonne période de temps que le Cameroun a produit du pétrole, on n'a pas budgétisé comme ce pétrole. Ce n'est que tout récemment, ça peut-être après 15 ans ou 20 ans, que le pétrole camerounais a commencé à être budgétisé sur la pression internationale. Maintenant, ceux-là qui avaient donc les caisses noires, ceux-là donc qui avaient donc continué à s'enrichir illicitement, ont trouvé donc bon de contrôler le marché noir du pétrole. Par exemple, par le Nigeria. Vous pensez qu'ils ont quel intérêt de baisser le prix à la pompe, de faire ce que le fuel camerounais vendu à la pompe soit correspondant au fuel nigérian? Parce que c'est ça le problème en fait. Le Nigeria est le premier fourvoyeur du pétrole camerounais dans le marché noir. Et même dans certaines stations d'essence. Vous pensez que si au Cameroun, on vend le litre de pétrole, d'essence, à plus de 500, 600 francs, et qu'au Nigeria, on vend ça à 400 francs, est-ce que ces personnes qui sont d'affaires, sans qu'ils peuvent acheter son Nigeria, venir vendre son marché noir, et dans les stations, pensez-vous qu'ils ont intérêt à baisser le prix? Non. Je vous dis, le marché noir camerounais est contrôlé au plus haut lieu d'État du Cameroun. Voilà pourquoi tout ce qu'on va dire toute stratégie qu'on va mettre, afin de mettre fin à ça, ne marchera pas. Il est maintenant clair, Comment devons-nous faire? Comment est-ce que la jeune Camerounaise qui tire des revenus sur la vente illicite du pétrole, comment faire pour lui sortir de ce domaine? Parce que c'est aussi lucratif pour elle. Une femme ou un homme qu'on appelle le coétien qui vend du foie camerounais, ce produit illicite, s'enrichit. Il peut nourrir sa famille, il peut envoyer ses enfants à l'école. Alors comment va-t-on faire pour le retirer de là? Et même s'il sort de là, d'autres jeunes Camerounais vont en train de... Je peux vous dire que les Camerounais cherchent comment faire ce business. Seulement, ils n'ont pas les bons créneaux, les bons réseaux. D'ailleurs même, ceux qui font ce business-là, allez voir à qui ils appartiennent, allez voir le nom de leur famille, allez voir le nom de leur oncle et de leur frère. Vous verrez que ce n'est pas le Cameroun lambda qui vend les produits frélatés. Vous verrez que c'est une organisation bien huilée qui appartient à des personnes bien montées. Donc, pour qu'on puisse donc combattre cela, la solution idéale serait de revoir le prix du carburant à la pompe. Mais comme le carburant camerounais n'est même pas raffiné ici, quand le carburant camerounais, quand le carburant qu'on utilise à la pompe, n'est même pas camerounais, parce qu'on nous fait comprendre que le carburant...
Mais elle est raffinée ici, non?
J'arrive, oui, une partie, l'autre est exportée. Parce qu'on nous fait comprendre que notre pétrole est lourd, et que ça trouve, c'est de très bonne qualité. Donc on raffine là,
non,
on achète,
non, on achète, we buy crude
à l'extérieur. Oui,
yeah.
Oui, mais pour nous-mêmes exporter, parce que c'est de lourd, c'est de bonne qualité. Mais ce qu'on achète là-bas, on paye ça au prix du marché international.
Oui, mais the past 5 years, the prices have been dropping now.
Pourquoi on ne paye pas au Nigeria? Puisqu'ils ont ça en bonne quantité.
Bonne question.
Pourquoi est-ce qu'on ne paye pas ce déjà raffiné?
Qui est moins cher? Parce que là-bas, ça coûte
c'est moins cher.
300 francs. Hein.
Mais je voudrais dire que ce qui se passe, c'est que le gouvernement camerounais, ces gens qui sont en train de commettre un génocide économique sur le pétrole camerounais, ont intérêt à l'acheter, le pétrole en Afrique de l'Ouest, qui va coûter cher, venir subventionner la Sonara, et ils vont faire rafiner sa Sonara, ils vont vendre ça par rapport au prix du marché en disant que c'est l'international qui commande, qui fait ça, qui impose. Mais ils vont donc aller au Nigeria en sous-marin, ils vont passer les commandes du carburant frilaté, du carburant Nigeria à des bas prix qui vont venir ravitailler le marché camerounais. Et là, cet argent qui revient n'est contrôlé par personne. Je dis bien, ça entre dans leur donc c'est carrément une mafia terrible. Donc pour revenir vraiment à votre question, la baisse des prix du carburant à l'essence sera possible, sera une bonne chose, mais c'est impossible. Maintenant, il faut donc créer des secteurs d'activité lucratifs qui fera ce que le jeune Camerounais verra le risque qu'il encourt en vendant du carburant frilaté, il verra qu'il peut perdre sa vie et il verra donc qu'il a donc des solutions alternatives qui pourront le captiver et il va donc se diriger vers là. Donc cela revient donc à la politique d'emploi du Cameroun.
You have three minutes. That my job is very complex situation, but whatever the case, it's difficult to get out of the situation. But the civil society the population themselves could organize themselves to reduce the risk of getting affected by the ever presence of fuel in their quarters.
You know, one of the difficulties it takes to combat this is the economy, and the only way we can get help is from the civil society. They can educate these people to say, okay, it has a danger, but if you want to do this business, excuse me, if you want to do this business, maybe these are the steps you need to take to protect the environment. Maybe if you are selling in the quarter, maybe you have to ensure that you have something like a soccer wear, where you put all of these containers inside the soccer wear, with such a way that it protects it from explosion, and suddenly if there have to be explosion, it will reduce the impact on the environment. Maybe you need to isolate people, or maybe you move to an uncompleted building that does not have people in that environment. So there are a lot of things that must be taken into consideration, because to say the government has to regulate this is a chaotic environment. And let me tell you, if you are bringing in regulations, that's another avenue for a lot of people to steal, not just the police, because the guys from the mines will now come into place and collect their own money. The police will now come into place and collect their own money. The local council will now come into place and collect their own money. Remember, these people don't pay taxes because it's an illegal business. and they are robbing the state of hard-earned taxes. We are complaining about roads, but those people don't pay taxes. The only taxes they pay is in the hands of the police officers. So they don't pay taxes. So I believe that if the government must regulate this, Mr. Low, the government must begin by ensuring that tell them, okay, we understand that we cannot provide services, filling stations everywhere in Cameroon. Maybe you guys now to come form a union. Maybe you guys should register. Maybe we keep a database of you guys. Maybe we allocate a certain area where we say, okay, this area that has no house, you can go and be selling your fuel within this trend.
You can stock
them.
You
can stock them there. So to me,
secondes, s'il te plaît.
Juste dire que le fuel là, la matière qui est derrière ça, le bitume, ça s'appelle le goudron. Ce sont les déchets du fuel.
Okay.
Est-ce que vous savez que le Cameroun prend ces déchets au Nigeria et que c'était un opérateur économique, un homme d'affaires, qui se trouve au sud-ouest. C'est lui qui a la charge d'importer cela. Donc, et ça se prend au Niger, j'ai dit même sur le déchet. Et ça, c'est qu'on vient faire les routes à des milliers de francs.
Non,
le fuel ne peut pas être résolu par ce gouvernement. C'est carrément du gangisme économique que nous assistons là à nos Camerounais, illicite.
You took time from him and I said stop, you're only talking. C'est pas normal, non? Vous blâmez les gens, mais vous monopolisez aussi. C'est pas bien. On est en démocratie, non? On respecte autant de l'autre. Kenneth, writing from Jakiri, says, good morning to you all in the studio. He said, I think the government should tell us where that fuel was going to, being accompanied by forces of law, because we know the details already. I wonder why the government have not declared a national mourning day, or is it because it concerns uniformed men? Kennedy, good evening to you from Jakiri. We have to end at this juncture. Thank you for coming.
It was a pleasure, and we call upon the government to be responsible and call to order all those who are involved in these malpractices that has led to the death of 53 Cameroonians.
Ok, merci d'être venu.
Merci, et demandez aux Camerounais, à tous ceux qui ont quelque chose à voir dans de champs, de démissionner. En commençant par le gouvernement de l'Ouest.
That my job is thank you for coming.
Thank you, Mr. Kum, and thanks to all those who took our time to follow us. Equally, those who have divergent view, who think our view is not in conformity with theirs. I want to say a special good evening to those watching us in Moya. And why not the President of the Republic, Paul Biya, and all political party leaders, including Nijon Fundi and Professor Maurice Kamto.
Okay, we want to thank you, Christian, and to you, Desmond, for producing the program. Not forgetting you, Noel and Bertrand, and you, Tambe Bryant. We say thank you for all of you who took time off to watch the program. If you have a business that you think we can support through this program and other programs on My Media Prime, please contact us. We are going to give you opportunity to sell your product. Stay blessed. Bye-bye.